Here's the good news. Barcelona kept a clean sheet and got a point on the road against the third best team in the Liga. The bad news? Sevilla kept a clean sheet against Barcelona for the first time since 2011. Barca also failed to score a goal at the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan for the first time since 2003. Too many more of these 0-0 draws may take the wind out of my sails, but let's see what we learned. Hi, I'm Dan Hilton. This is the Barcelona Podcast YouTube exclusive. I think the most frustrating thing about the 0-0 result today is that Quique Setién got his tactics right. Sevilla went with the same lineup they did against Real Betis, and just like against Betis, they crowded the middle of the field and forced Barca to use their width. This calculation made the selection of Martin Braithwaite seem like the right idea due to his space out wide, as Setién noted. Knowing that Sevilla have some pace themselves down the wings, as I discussed in the preview, and that they want to use those channels to build attacks, Setién kept Jordi Alba at home more often than he's used to, and tried instead to exploit the space behind Reguilón with Nelson Semedo, which did work to some effect. It's understandable with the heat that Setién didn't tell his team to press very often. It wasn't until the 12th minute that Barca brought any bit of extended pressure in Sevilla's half of the field. But a credit to Busquets, Alba, and Rakitic. The Blaugrana were winning some of those balls in the first half. With Luis Suarez getting the start, we even saw him defending as the right wing, a job that Griezmann does, but I was wondering if the Uruguayan would be given the same task. That said, that positioning did not last, as Sevilla's best opportunities started to come on counterattacks. Lopetegui switched things up in the second half by bringing on Ever Banega, and it was the right move. Banega capitalized on Barca's tiring legs by switching the field as often as he could, and pinning Alba and Semedo back at their posts. This meant that any Barca counter would result in them needing to hold the ball up and wait for reinforcements on the wings. The heat and playing every 3 days showed its ugly head in the second half, and there isn't much more to talk about tactically. Artur came on for Braithwaite to push Arturo Vidal into the box, at least until Griezmann came on, but Barca's age and lack of depth showed. It felt like as legs got tired, the team relied more on Messi, but when the Argentine has to drop deep to receive the ball and turns it over in the clogged middle of the field, that's when the counterattacks were their most deadly. Thanks to Ter Stegen and Alba though, and Jules Koundé on the other side, this one ended scoreless. Speaking of Marc-Andre Ter Stegen, let's start the Barca grades and give the keeper an 8 for the clean sheet. His hand save on Lucas Ocampos and his sheer presence on Reguilón's error got the job done. For as much as Barca didn't look like scoring, neither did Sevilla. Alba was the other big reason Sevilla didn't break through. His tracking back on the 3-on-1 in the second half saved the match, and it was really nice to see the Spaniard defend in the way that he did. I was probably too hard on him for the showing against Mallorca, so he gets an 8 from me today. On the other side of the back line, Nelson Semedo also had a pretty good day defensively, and due to Barca's tactics, got involved offensively. Semedo got caught out by Munir once on the counterattack in the second half, but even if Sergio Roberto was healthy, I think Nelson Semedo was the right choice for the starter in this match. You saw Gerard Piqué express his frustration in this one time and time again. Both teams were being rather cynical in this match, and Piqué's yellow card just started all that fun. Yet, his 4 aerial duels were important to shutting down Sevilla on set pieces and corners. Clement Lenglet did just enough on the night. He helped with the clean sheet, he cut out an interception in the second half, but he also struggled to deal with Sevilla's counterattacking. All things considered, things could have been much worse for the Barcelona back line. Gosh darn it, Rakitic. I wanted to give him an 8 or 9 for his first half performance. His pressure, stepping up for interceptions, diagonal balls, and positioning were superb for the first 35 minutes. The second half was a struggle. He got pushed out wide, never delivered any dangerous balls, and alongside Busquets and Vidal in the midfield, he won less balls in the center of the park and was stretched out a little too far on the counterattack. Matches with a lot of bodies in the middle aren't the type of matches that fit Arturo Vidal. Vidal does much better when the opponent is willing to be opened up and he can come in like a wrecking ball. But unfortunately against Sevilla, it felt like he was always on the verge of something, but that something never came. Busquets made 2 or 3 bad passes in the second half, but part of that came because his teammates were getting tired legs and they weren't in the position they were supposed to be in. I'm not going to expect the final ball to come from Busquets, but it seemed like in that second half, it had as much of a chance to come from him as it did from anybody else. Unfortunately for Braithwaite, his limitations were exposed on the night. His pace got him the start over Griezmann, but unfortunately with so much of Barcelona's attack flowing through the right side of the field, he never really got to showcase that speed. When Barca took possession, his passing let him down, as he struggled to make wall passes and 1-2s. Quique Setien said that Luis Suarez wasn't fit enough to play the full 90 against Mallorca or Leganés, but against Sevilla, he did look fit, but he didn't finish his chances. You felt like if something was going to happen in the match, Luis Suarez would be involved, but Diego Carlos and Koundé gave Suarez all he could handle on the night. Messi did Messi things, but it just wasn't enough. Barca's best chances in the match came from Messi free kicks, but even then, Sevilla were ready for him. It felt like the team that Messi has scored against the most finally had a proper game plan for him. Make him drop deep to pick up the ball, and then throw as many bodies at him as possible. I was going to give him a Messi 7, which is a 9 for everybody else, but his 5 dribbles were easily the most of anybody on the field, and Barca were relying on him and only him in the second half. Artur has seemed out of sorts all season long, and that didn't change against Sevilla. To be fair to him, Barca had already lost control of the match when he came on as a sub, but other than keeping possession, we didn't really see too much from the Brazilian. Griezmann had the same challenges as Artur, coming on when Barca were starting to look desperate offensively. He helped with the build-up and put Luis Suarez in much better positions, but too little, too late. I'm giving Riqui Puig a 7, because this is my video and you can't stop me. He came on with energy late, immediately lost a 50-50 duel with a guy about a foot taller, but he did add something special to the end of the match. I really like how Riqui Puig tries to make those runs behind the defense, and even though he didn't receive the ball, it seemed like there was a little bit of movement and belief to that Barca attack. Yet we did see that playing the ball in tight spaces is not the thing that he lacks experience in. His defensive positioning, again, was the issue. He made a positioning mistake in his few minutes on the field, so we see that that's the problem here. But if it's a trade-off, I'd much rather take what he adds offensively than not seeing him get any time at all. Athletic Club awaits on Tuesday, and there are no breaks for this team. Even with De Jong and Sergio Roberto back, Real Madrid are in the driver's seat to win the Liga. Culés have a right to be frustrated with this result. Quique Setien should have used his subs earlier in the match, but that shouldn't take away from the fact that Setien got his tactics right at the start and did enough for Barcelona to get a clean sheet. For more of a breakdown, Francesca and I will be talking about this on this week's edition of The Pod, plus a special guest will be joining us. As I keep saying, if you like these reviews and want me to keep doing them, please give this video a like and make sure to share it with a friend. And as always, until next time, Forza Barca.